Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Skill Riders podcast episode. This is number 216. I am here joined by my guest, Daniel Valencia. What's up, Daniel? How you doing?
Edgar, how you doing? Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, man, pretty good. I'm excited to have you back on. I mean, it's from when we did the first podcast, we did it over the phone, audio interview, but now it's dope because now video. And I mean, a lot of cool things just happened not too long ago. You just attended the GSL, which is something that we're gonna get into for sure
Definitely.
on
You
this
know,
episode
I
here.
I always thought Edgar only interviewed me through the phone because of my ugly ass face, but I'm like, I see how it is.
Oh man, nah,
No
dude.
issue for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things why I like doing the now the video, podcast because we get to interact more, get to see the builds, and also like some things behind the scenes,
Exactly.
and we get to know more the builder because before we used to seeing just the photographs of the artistry of a model builder, and then
Right.
later we start to hear the audio, and now we're going to full perspective with the
Now you
fiction
get to put a
video.
face with the model, right?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Nah, that's cool, man. And so it's been what, a week now since the GSL. Well, we're getting
Yes.
close to, right?
Close to being a week,
Yeah.
yes.
How do you feel right now? Do you still feel a little exhausted from that weekend to now? You're still recovering, or?
You know what? You're absolutely right. I haven't thought about it now until now that you said it. But when you used to be young and you used to go out and party, like a hangover would be gone in a few hours. Now a hangover lasts for like 3 months.
Yeah, you feel it.
Dude, those I put myself through a lot of pressure before GSL, and I'm actually working on a somewhat like a documentary of when I was building the car, all these problems and issues that I was finding with building it, and try to make it a GSL. GSL started on Thursday, right? It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I finished the car on Thursday and started packing up things, and 12-hour drive, dude. That's
Yeah,
how
it's
it was.
crazy. Because I still remember, asking you the question like, "Hey, are you planning on going to SoCal Open or GSL?" Like, you being a local native here of Southern California, and it's right in
Exactly.
your backyard, SoCal Open. But then again, hearing that this is the last one in Salt Lake City,
I
you know,
had to.
was it
Yeah.
was it was it hard to make that decision of where to go?
It wasn't, dude, because I really, I only heard about GSL by all these, and actually I got a lot of information through your podcast.
Oh, nice.
Because GSL was this kind of like a ghost for me, like, oh, everybody talks about it, but no one really gets into it. And I believe that the reason why is because it's so far. It's kind of like one of those shows that you hear, like when I started hearing about NNL, for example. I've never been to one, and I was like, okay, it must be a cool show. But then everybody begins to do it is the best and this and that. So when I heard what it was, I started doing a little bit of research, and then they were like, this is the last one. I'm like, I have to go. I have to go see what the whole fuss is about, and not even 1 ounce of disappointment.
Man, what a trip. Yeah, I wish I would have had that opportunity to go as well, especially like it being the last one. But just like you said, I didn't really know too much of it. I had heard of it. I had heard people say, I even like John Teresi once told me, he's the GSL, that's like the Super Bowl of like all model shows,
Yes.
in the
It,
in the country, and I was like, for real? I was like, all right. But I had never seen any content or anything, right? Until now.
so in this being in the country, I started noticing that a lot of people will come from other countries. Dude, they have people from Puerto Rico, Canada. There was a British guy, I believe, like people from all over the world. And I don't think anywhere in America, the continent, not the country, the USA, I don't think they ever put a scale model this big only for cars. For example, Mexico has huge scale models, like people from Central and South America, even from the US, go and compete in Mexico in the main capital, Distrito Federal. But I don't think they put up, like a huge only cars show, and especially with the quality that you see at GSL. So this thing has to be worldwide.
Man, that's such a trip.
Yes.
For like this experience, going to it, it's being the last one, and you created some history, like for yourself, but also for the event because of the awards. Can you tell us like what were some words that were shared, there to you regarding like the event with, with what you got like on those awards for your cars?
It's thank you for that. It's crazy that you said that. In different shows, you've seen me. We met at different shows and everything, and whenever I win something, I am happy about it. I am super grateful, and I just go and do my clown ass whatever, and it's fun. Over here, I honestly was not expecting what happened. I was like, and I kept hearing it from even from your podcast. Like, if you ever win a fourth, it's a huge honor. I was like, at least I have to get a fourth, But it's still an amazing show just to go there and the adventure and everything, right? But when I started getting the awards, I was like, okay, dude, I don't know. There's a video. I hope you can see it. But when I'm walking back from the last award, dude, I think I'm hyperventilating. I have to like exhale, and my legs are shaking. I don't know if you can see it. I missed the photographer one because I'm so nervous and so couldn't believe it. And when the whole thing was done, I was actually doing homework, sitting on the main event. And people at my table were looking at me like, bro, pay attention. And I was like, sorry, going at homework with my laptop, dude. So everything ended. I picked up my stuff. We left. One of I forgot his name, this gentleman, he approached me and he was like, he's like, Daniel. And I'm like, yes. He said, I have been, one of the organizers for this event for the longest time. And I'm like, okay, nice to meet you. I thought he was just, saying who he was and everything. And he's like, I have never, ever, ever seen you here or seen your name at GSL. And I'm like, no, it is my first one. He's like, okay. And he mentioned that. He's like, do you know that you made history? And I was like, why? And he said, you attended the very last one. I said, okay. He said, you brought 3 models and got 4 awards. It's like getting an award here is a little difficult, and you brought so little at the very last one. It's your first one, and you got these big ones. Like, that is a little bit of history. I was like, thank you. Like, calm and don't tell me that stuff, because I was already, like passing out. It was a great honor to have gotten that.
Man, congratulations, dude. That's so dope. I feel like, like you guys attending it, and then also other modelers, like there's other people from Instagram that I'm friends with that were there. And I almost feel, and I know that for sure, being there and leaving, it changed the perspective of like how you're gonna be building now.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, inspirations for sure, but you're getting to see the level of work that's there, right? And it's just like just being exposed to that, it changes your perspective.
I will down the road, I will explain to you. I had a conversation with a couple of gentlemen. One of those that always, I think one of them won 1 or 2 best of shows at GSL back in the day. And he was talking to another gentleman that they build their own stuff, right? They were talking about $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 little lathes that they utilize to make their own parts. I'm like, it's not just the level of quality on their as a craftsmanship, as artists and builders and everything, dude, the money they put on this hobby, I was like, at that point, guys, you can start a business and start selling the parts. And they're like, yeah, but then you focus too much on the business and then you're not building and all these stuff. It was like a
Yeah,
long
so true.
conversation.
Hmm.
But dude, the machinery they're utilizing just to create these high-end models, I was like,
Yeah, like all the parts, it's all homemade and everything. It's crazy,
incredible.
man. Like, I mean, think about it. I'm assuming maybe some of them are like might be retired,
Oh yeah.
and it's like maybe hopefully we get to that point where we're retired now. We're dropping ends on lathes and
We have to win the lotto, dude. Like seriously, buy all these kits and
yeah,
surround yourself by this stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Man, that's so cool, man. It's crazy. Like, when you start seeing all the small details and like parts, and I mean, when I see your work, I'm blown away, and I'm just like I get inspired, and it's like the recent build that I did. There's a lot of stuff that attention that went into it that I really didn't put that kind of attention into like my builds, right? I was more focused on the paint and like the clear coat job and all that, but I wasn't really focusing, too much on the interior, on the wheels, on the engine, on and any much of that. And when you said some words to me when you were saying like you got to treat each section or each part like it's its own model, that took a big effect to me where I was like, all right, cool. I can't just kind of skip and like cut corners on little things just to get the overall look at the end. I got to definitely like you know enjoy and like learn and like just add to each section there.
You have said so many things, dude, that even though, from the last podcast, like, all those words, those were the way I see models, right? We were talking about all that stuff, and yeah, I treat each little part as if you can leave it anywhere, and if anybody sees it, oh, that looks like a real steering wheel, not just a plastic that something, right? But every model that I build, I try to beat my previous model. I try to get into more and more and more difficult stuff. I have noticed that sometimes people, oh, I'm not good at paint, so I'm going to stress on what I'm good at. And I am the opposite. I'm like, if I'm not good at something, I am tackling it, because doing and doing, repeating what you already know how to do, it's cool, you perfect it, but then kind of like you're just bringing the previous. It's like a stamp, you're just stamping models, and the same mold is being repeated. So the Opel truck, it was the last model that and I was explaining it on Willie's little interview that we had. The Opel truck was the last model that I actually did as a static thing, without any movement, no moving parts. It has a lot of detail, and in a certain way it's easy because it's just chilling there, right? So after the Opel, I'm like, I had to step it up. So that's when I built the Mercedes-Benz, the tow truck. And the reason to after the tow truck was bringing all the detail, quality from the Opel truck, but now with parts that you can move and open, and kind of like a more dynamic model, if you know what I'm saying, right? Like all these parts move, but at the same time they hold that extreme detail. So that was the Mercedes-Benz, the next step on the detail stuff. Now, the Catalina, dude, I started noticing what you guys do with paint. I honestly, at the beginning, I thought, oh, a can and that's it, throw stickers and it looks cool, right? But then I started noticing, like, and when Willie started explaining how all these coats and taping, I was like, come on, you guys gotta be freaking crazy. So in a way, that was like my next step. I'm like, I'm not good at paint. I have to now conquer paint, and then
Yeah.
I started doing all this stuff. So I'm kind of like showing you the evolution of my reasoning to
Of the builds,
tackle
yeah.
this. Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. So 3 cars that you took there. Um, can we get a little preview? Can you show us and explain to us
No.
the 3 cars that you took?
All right. Sorry, guys. I'm on my laptop, but I'm gonna flip it around. All right. So, okay, hold on. Let me get this thing going. Let me disconnect it, and I'll fix the light. Let me know if you can see it. Okay. So this is the Mercedes-Benz. Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah, I can see it
Okay,
there. That looks
perfect. So this is the Mercedes-Benz. This one won best in class. So this was competing in the commercial, military, all that stuff, heavy equipment, right? And you know, because of it's not a race truck, it's not all these anything. It's just a hauler pulling up, you know, a race car, but it's considered, you know, commercial and heavy duty, right? So this one I got the best in class for that. Then the Opel truck, the famous Opel truck. This is the one you've seen at different shows. So with this one, the cool thing I got, this was competing in competition in circle track. So I got the best in class for you know for the whole category. But the cool thing about this one is the interior, and I believe you have a few pictures. This one I got the Master Award for best interior of the show with this one. Fun fact, when when I went to pick up this award, I think I have the video. I hope you can hear it, but Mr. what's his name? Mark Gustafson, he was like, "You are freaking crazy. Like, how did you pack all those wires and stuff inside, you know, this little cabin? Because it's you can barely see through the windows, right? And there's all kinds of stuff." So this is the one that did the best. It got a first in class and a master's award. And then the Catalina, my latest, you know, the one that I fight barely finished to go and compete. So this one got the best paint of the show. And the reason why, because all the handwork that I actually ended up doing. Let me see if I can put it close and if you can see it, if it doesn't go out of focus. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. I'm just trying to stay quiet so it zooms in on the screen there.
Exactly.
Tell us about the paint job.
So, you know, the whole lowriding thing, the paint and how it goes. You guys at this point know more than I do, but when it was explained to me, you know, Willie, by the way, helped me so much, you know, accomplishing all this stuff. He took me to Coast Airbrush and all that crazy stuff with real paint and all that stuff. And he started explaining, okay, so first you coat it, you know, the coats that you're gonna look at the end, you have to start covering them at the beginning. So you kind of like work on it on a reverse. I was like, okay. And then the ratios, and you use this for these candies and glitters and this, and dude, it was overwhelming at the beginning. I was like, okay, let me go buy some stuff and then I'll start experimenting and asking questions, right? So I was all the time, bro, okay, you said this, like, no, that is called intermediate code, the SG whatever. You cannot use that. I'm like, okay. So then I was like, okay, I had to step it up. I've seen the beautiful works on lowriders all over the place. I'm like, how can I step outside that? It's impossible. Like everything has been done. Then I noticed that a lot of the lowriders, the theme is the Aztec theme, right? The you know, the background of Mexican ancestry. So I was like, well, my ancestry, I'm from Guatemala. My ancestry is Mayans. I live, you know, a few hours from Tikal, the main, you know, nest of civilization of the Mayan Empire. And I was like, okay, I'll do it Mayan. So while doing all this research, I started looking at all the artwork, and I'm like, I think I can draw that. So I started doing a bunch of experiments on different, I have like spaceships. I was like painting them and practicing, all these little, until I finally figured it out. So after codes and after tests, I bought like 10 of those little 0.0 something markers. I think I have one around here. I'll look for one. 0.03 markers, 003. They're a hair. And I sat down and started, scroll by scroll, little by little, doing it until I kind of like got the hang of it. And I went with it. So that was the first challenge, protecting the work in order to be able to play around with it. And by the way, dude, remember the box that you gave me, like the 62? You were like, dude, you can use these spare parts.
Oh, yeah.
Check this out. I thought that you had the Catalina body and you were gonna add the 62 bubble top. And until recently, I found your video where you did the opposite. You're using the 62 body with the Catalina rooftop.
Yeah.
So you know what? I don't have it here. I don't know what I did with it, but that body, dude, the one that you gave me, that's the one that I used. That was my dummy. That's the one I used to mess it up and to practice all my stuff. And when I finally figured it out on that one, I translated it to the real one. So thank you,
the canvas.
Yeah. And you know what? Now that we're on this, thank you for that. I'm going to give it back to you. It's all, scratched.
Yeah, I'll keep it.
But I think it's gonna be some kind of like a good memory, of the stuff that we.
That's pretty cool. Damn, that's crazy. You know what you're telling me? You're giving me the backsides, or all of us that are watching, the backside story to the artwork, like Mayan, like adding that to it. Not too long ago, I want to say maybe a month ago or so. With my fiance and her cousin, they're also their heritage from Guatemala too.
Oh, nice.
They were like, hey, let's go to
show
next to USC. We went to the Mayan exhibit.
I heard about it.
We want to go check it out, and like I took photos. I haven't sent. I was gonna send them to you, but I was waiting. I was like, I'm gonna wait because I saw some like really cool stuff, and they had all these different models and different little things that they were showing and artwork and everything. And right now, when you were showing that, I'm like, all right, I see a connection here. Okay.
I don't know if you noticed. Let me see if I have it here. I'll look for it right now. Oh, here. I bought these actually in Guatemala.
Oh, dang.
So this is carved on Mayan. It's from I forgot the name of that specific group that they do it, but the whole thing is carved with Mayan, art. So I don't know if you notice at the exhibit. So Mayans, they liked to use a blue, and all these archaeologists, they were trying to figure out where the hell did these guys grab all this blue stuff from? It's not from plants, it's not from this. And then after the years, they discovered that there were like these caves and some kind of corrosion and minerals created this blue color. So these dudes were like scraping these caves and then mixing all their stuff, and they were using this blue on their art. So that's why the car, and by the way, the name that I didn't show the bottom.
Oh, let's see. Let me zoom in. All right, say some words. So zooms in.
Okay. There we go. Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, that's the whole bottom. So if you look at the car, so the car, I named it. I did the research, and in Mayan, yaks, it's a word that you can use for blue or green, because blue and green are kind of like the same color, right? If you go to a certain hue of blue, it turns into green, and vice versa. So yaks to the Mayans was like blue or a little bit of green, and they admired and they worship the jaguars because they used to believe that they were gods, the jaguars. So jaguars and quetzales, the bird, they were like the Mayan main, animals. So this car, I named it Jax Balam, which is blue jaguar. And hence, you can see all the jaguar patterns on all of the sides, a little bit of, here's the hood. I'll show you the hood. So you can see all the, on the turquoise color in the center, there's jaguar patterns too. And I actually told Willie that I wanted to do a Mayan theme, but at the same time, I wanted to use one of my mom's favorite colors, which it was turquoise. She loved the color turquoise, right? Which is this kind of like a green blue weird color, but it's kind of like, it's nice. So I told Willie, and Willie's like, let's go. We'll go to Coast Airbrush, and he knows everybody there. So he introduced me to these gentlemen, and the guy's like, which color are you looking for? Is it for a lowrider? Okay. So Willie explained the whole thing. Dude, this guy begins to get all these bottles, and he mixed the turquoise. I have it here somewhere. He mixed this little bottle. Dude, the color came out so beautiful. This metallic with a little bit of very fine glitter, very, very fine metallic pieces. It came out beautiful. I'm like, I have to use the thing on the car. So the car has blue, has green, and a touch of red. The quetzal, the bird, it's green with a red chest. So that's kind of like the symbol from the Mayan. So that's why the colors on the car.
Damn, that's dope, dude. I like that. There's a lot of thought that went into that. And it's like, it's very meaningful. It's not just, I picked out these colors because I thought they were cool and bam,
It's a whole thought process behind the car, every single detail. That another very difficult thing that I found, and I saw it everywhere. Dude, I did so many hours of YouTube watching lowriders and this guy build their cars, build videos. The LA show, they're filming everything. And I was like, how can I duplicate the metal engraving? I was like, how can I do it? How can I do it? And after all these processes, dude, I tried it so many times, I finally nailed it. Like the microscopic engraving up to scale, because this engraving is to scale on the actual car, and it's chrome, so it came out pretty good.
Yeah. Watch, as you're speaking, I'm gonna try to like find a photo that I wanted to show you from the oh, here we go. Let me see if I could upload this one.
From the Mayan
Yeah.
exhibit?
See the background? Let's see.
That looks so cool.
Oh shoot. Yeah, so this is supposed to be from what I read, it's like a mask, like crawling like a jaguar. Let me see what else I got. Oh, I like this right here. I don't know. The display was dope, bro. It was like super dope. Things that we saw there at the exhibit.
The bigger one, you see that one is facing the other one. These temples, one is called the Temples of Masks, Templo de las Máscaras, and the other one, oh, I forgot the name. In one of these ruins, when you go to Tikal, one of these ruins, when you go all the way up,
yeah,
there's a metal ladder, like a ladder, dude, really old, really rusty. The guys from, what's his name, George Lucas, from Star Wars, they installed that thing when they filmed Star Wars in Tikal. There's a scene, I forgot which movie is it, that there's all these ships taking off into space, right? But they filmed that scene in Tikal. So one of those temples that you showed right now has a ladder, a metal ladder that these guys installed, and it's still there.
Man, that's crazy. Pretty dope.
Yeah,
man, that's so cool though. I like that you're sharing that though about the car, because it's like you're adding a part of like heritage, to in history with things. I didn't know about that, about what you were saying about the blue, about the color. how they were getting that, and they were trying to figure out like how do they get this color.
Exactly.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty dope.
I
Um,
am.
in like I wanted to get into the truck. You showed us a visual earlier, a little sneak peek, but I want to post up some photos in the backdrop right now, and if you could get into that. Let's see. So this truck right here, the interior, the Opal, you got 2 awards for it.
Exactly for this one. So this one, okay, so what you're looking at, I think I explained, I think I told you on my previous, well, if not, so I bought this truck. It's a 124th, and this is a World War II truck. It's an Opel Blitz, and this is the truck that the Germans were using as a mule. It was their cargo truck. They used to transport all kinds of stuff in World War II. So I built war stuff, right? So when I saw it and in 124th, I was like, I gotta have this. But the package was open, the model was open. So the guy sent it to me. He's like, I think it's missing some stuff might be broken. I was only able to salvage the chassis, the engine, and the cabin. The rest is all 100% either scratch build or from other models or PE or you name it. It's in there. So when I was converting it to a race truck, my problem was I want to pack so much detail inside the cabin that at the end, when I paint the cabin, I'm not going to be able to cover all this detail because one little piece of masking tape that gets in there, look at those little buttons and decals, dude, is going to rip everything off. So I was like, how do I build it? How do I build it? That was one of my big problems by building this truck. So on the previous picture, you can see that the interior is assembled and I'm kind of like building it from the chassis up. So I had to paint all the panels from the interior outside, do the decals, do the clear, and then assemble it and make it look like if it was, done after. It was very, very tricky to finish this truck, but yeah, there you can see it's a little out of focus, unfortunately, but I packed so many details that you cannot even see. So these actual, pictures help.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. Just seeing all the details, like all those like small decals, man. It's such a trip. They have an eye for that to fitting all that stuff in there, and then even the engine. It's like that process, just building it up one piece at a time, adding color, adding the decals, and then later adding the wiring and everything else. That's crazy.
Another little story now that you're showing this. So I'm talking to, and by the way, little shout out, just a parenthesis, all these amazing people that I met at GSL. You guys, if you're hearing this, thank you for making my first GSL experience so amazing. Dude, it's insane. Like the atmosphere, Edgar, that you since you walk in, it's this like brotherhood, like everyone's welcoming you and it's kind of like a big group of people enjoying the exact same. It was really cool. So I'm talking to someone, right, about this and models and ideas and having a good time. And this gentleman goes and he's like, excuse me, very, very serious, right? Are you the owner or are you the builder of the truck that right? The Opel truck. I'm like, the one over there, that's disassembled? Yes. I'm like, yeah, I need you for a minute. Come here. I'm like, whoa, okay. So I walk with him. So we look at this picture. He goes, explain the engine. And I'm like, what, the colors or what did I use? Or no. Explain how that engine works. I'm like, oh, like, why did I build it like this? Yeah, because this is obviously not, a kit. So why did you build it like this? I'm like, okay, so my inspiration was, race trucks from this and that. So this is a diesel. He's like, I can see it's a diesel. I'm like, okay, I'm getting upset, right? Yeah, I was like, what the hell? So I'm like, but why the turbos and why the pipe is coming here? And I was like, okay, check this out. Long time ago, doing the research for the truck, I came across a diesel engine that it had some kind of like an internal supercharger that was feeding a set of, it was only 2 turbos, right? Also, it's a compound system. I'm like, yeah, it's a compound system, boost goes on top of another boost producer and it puts more boost on the engine. But why does your exhaust has wires? I'm like, when you're fine tuning an engine, you need to get readings from the exhaust individually to see how much CO2 you have, how much oxygen, how much. He's like, well, I'm a race engineer, and yeah, I think it makes sense. And I was like, okay, but he was so aggressive, dude. Like, he was like, why is your engine like this? It was so cool.
Yeah, it was like a test.
Yeah, definitely.
Damn, imagine if you would have been like, oh, I just did it because I thought it was just cool.
Oh, he would have like, throw it away.
Man, that's a trip. And the other vehicle that you had shown us was your Mercedes.
That's the one.
Yeah, this one's nice, man. The hauler. So this one here, there's a lot of scratch building that went into this.
So this one, dude. So again, this is the first model that I really said, okay, I gotta step it up from the Opel, from the previous truck, On this one, it looks like a box, right? It looks just like a truck sitting with a damn car on the back. But the whole cabin, where it says the number 25 on top of the front tire, all that wide body is made from parts of Formula Ones. This is a better view. You can see the wide body going through the bottom. That whole thing is scratch built. The cabin lifts, and that whole section on top of the tire kind of like follows the cabin to display the engine. The whole rear platform slides back, and at the same time has a system that it looks like cricket legs that extend. So the platform not only tilts, but it kind of like drops. And when it drops, it changes the angle because, the Mercedes-Benz is a race car. So race cars are so low that they hit everywhere. A little slope and they hit. So that's why the whole platform needs to drop. So not only just slide, but it kind of like that has that tilt and it drops the platform. So the car can load in and then, it goes back in. And then inside the cabin, I added a little phone, and it has the cable, and it's charging on the dash. And they're like, oh my god! And dude, inside the cup holders, I have by the way, if you guys want to try it, that lead wire. There's the 20,000, 25,000, 15,000. I started slicing it with a very sharp X-Acto knife, and I did coins. So I threw coins inside the cup holders on this Mercedes-Benz. But this is the first one that I actually did that with a lot of motion,
Yeah. As far as like, adding like those details right now, how you said like cutting so to make like the coins, right? When all those things are those kind of just things that just happen in that moment as you're going, you're just like, why not? Let's just do it. Or is it already kind of pre-planned or just improvised?
So I was working on the truck and on the interior, and I was like, I have seen all these guys put magazines, which to me it's so cool because they even fold it and it looks like a real little magazine sitting there. I'm like, so that's been done. Okay, what else can I add? I was like a laptop. I'm gonna add a laptop because all these, and by the way, this kind of like crew we used to roll like this with a race car on the back. Dude, you have your bags, you have your equipment, you're working a bunch of radios. I was gonna build my own little like walkie-talkie radios that they use at the track. And I was like, but with such a modern truck like this, all that stuff goes on the back. All the equipment, they're so sophisticated that they have like drawers and all this stuff, right? I'm like, so that wouldn't be on the cabin. What will be on the cabin? Well, the damn phone. Everybody charges their phones on the cabins, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna add a cell phone. And then I was going through the cup holders and I'm like, what can I throw in here? I was like, coins. Everybody has coins on the damn cup holders. So I started doing the coins. And then in between the seats, I scratch built a Sparko bag. It's kind of like a travel bag, and it has the logo, Sparko, which is from racing, and then on the side it has AMG, which is the whole Mercedes-Benz thing. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet when people see that, they recognize like brands like Sparkle and all, and like all the little details. They're probably ask like, "Yo, where'd you get that?" That I
Exactly.
bet you that I get asked a lot. Where'd you get that? And it's like, no, I made it.
Exactly. It's the first question, like who sells it, or and when I tell them I scratch build a lot of stuff. It's kind of like an old art, dude, but it's so open to do whatever you want. You can make it look like something, and it actually allows you to. It's just a little bit of creativity, and you can get
Yeah.
away with a lot.
Yeah, and then it's very rewarding at the end when people recognize it or they see it. It's almost like someone looking through the model that's taking the time to look in there. They find those little Easter eggs, all these little things like, oh, look what's here. That's a trip. When do you feel was the time when you were like, all right, I need to start adding all these like little things here, like when you started to step it up on the builds?
That's a very good question. I was actually thinking about, because you get so lost in your next build, your next build, your next build. You pretty much kind of like don't look back. I have all my models here, and you don't really look back to, oh, I remember when I built this. I built it's a Le Mans car. It's an Audi. That is a 2010 winner. It's a diesel car, and I remember that the engine is so simple. It's a Rebel kit. So when you build it, it looks like crap, dude. I was like, come on, I have to add something. And then I added, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make it look like the real car. When I went to look at the real car, I'm like, come on, that looks like spaghetti, dude. All these crap on top of everything. And I'm like, how do you even work on a car like that? So that's when I started. Okay, I have to figure it out. Dude, I started by stretching sprue and trying to bend it. It will break. It was a nightmare to do wiring like that. Then I started doing the sprue around, different things. So it will already have curves. That's when I started actually detailing my models.
Dang. And then, you attend a lot of shows as well, like one-on-one scale. And, when you go to one of these shows, what's kind of your like your plan? Like when you're going to this show, is it just to look, or is it like, I gotta take photos, I gotta take video,
I am the weird guy who's sticking his head in between the tires and under the. I am
Yeah.
that guy. Like, look at the car. You don't. Why the hell are you looking on the? I'm looking at bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when I used to fabricate, I was amazed by the work other people do in fabrication, brother. These guys have this pride, like real fabricators. They have this, oh, it's not fabrication, it's an art, But when you see them TIG weld, their welds look like really like machines, like
Yeah.
machine did the welding. So I used to look a lot of at race cars, how they do their carbon fiber panels and the metal, and this is Inconel, this is titanium and stuff like that. So you're right. When I go to shows, that's what gets my attention, how to build a car, and
Yeah.
then I bring it to the
Yeah.
models.
Yeah, because like at shows, when people are there to show like a car, they get it cleaned up, the presentation, they want it to look a certain way, and then you get to see other cars. It's not really too much that. It's more of a raw look, like this is the way we drive it or the how we race it.
Raw.
Yeah, and you start to see all these like different things. But like you said, you look underneath, you peek. Do you also like to like meet some of the owners of some of the cars if they're hanging around to maybe ask like questions or just say what's up?
Yes.
That's
Oh,
cool.
and where you can do that a lot, and I really recommend, dude, if you can ever do a Formula Drift
Hmm.
event, the cars that they have there are insane. The horsepower and the drivers. You're not just looking at cars pass and pass and pass. These
Hmm.
guys are dancing in such huge amounts of horsepower. And when they go back to their pits, dude, you can walk and the cars like pretty much move, because you're walking in front of it. You can go to the pits. They're disassembling all these broken parts. Sometimes they give you the parts like, oh, souvenir,
Man.
like with a fender, like
It's
stuff
carbon
like
fiber piece.
yeah, dude. Oh yeah, definitely. So Formula Drift is very fun. They do one in Irwindale here in Southern California. They do Irwindale and Long Beach. So either or, you should
Uh-huh.
try to attend one.
Hey, well, tell me. I want to go with you to one of these
Let's
shows.
do. Oh, let's do it. I
I
think
want to
November.
check it out.
October or November will be
Yeah.
Irwindale.
Okay.
Let's plan ahead.
Yeah. That'd be
It's
dope, man. I
fun.
mean,
It's
I've
fun.
never gone. I've never gone, but I feel like you would probably like introduce it, like make it official. Like, yo, this is how it is.
When I started, like my first thing, dude, when I was a car guy, my first thing was muscle cars. I was like, oh, Mopars and Camaros and big machines and everything. And my brother was like, let's go watch Formula Drift. I'm like, come on, dude, go watch those and ging 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 ging. Nah, to me that was nothing. I was like muscle and drag race, right? Let's go. I'm like, no, that's stupid. It's stupid. Finally, dude, it's like, okay, I'll buy you the ticket. So we're getting the tickets at Irwindale. Have you seen the oval track at Irwindale?
Yeah.
Okay, so next to the oval track, there's the little, the building where you buy the tickets, the wheel call and all that stuff, right? Dude, we're buying the tickets and I'm like there, like this, like
Oh man.
And dude, I hear these two engines. Wow. Like I'm like, oh, there's drag racing here because of the loud V8 noises, right?
Mm-hmm.
I turn around, Edgar, and I'm seeing this smoke coming in. I run to the edge to see through the fence. These two cars, dude, pass right in front of me, going, I'm not kidding you, like 70 miles an hour sideways.
Dang.
When they went in front of me sideways at that speed, I was like, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
This is it. I seriously thought it was like cars just ging, 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 no, dude, it's aggressive.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah,
so let's not for November.
But to see it in person, it's a huge impression, huge impact on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So totally recommend it, guys.
Yeah, I feel like I need to see some cars in action, especially I know for sure for myself it changed my perspective to be like, I want to build one of those.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then start looking into the details, like what kind of engine is in there?
Yeah. All the swaps. Yeah, all the swaps.
Yeah, dude. Nah, it sounds exciting. It sounds like it would be a fun time. As far as like the going back to like the GSL, I remember when I hit you up, I for some reason thought that you were already gonna be there from like the first day, like the Thursday, like leaving maybe like Wednesday into Thursday. And I forgot what day I hit you up, but I hit you up and you were like, oh, we're gonna leave like later, like around this time. And I was like, damn. I was like thinking you probably had to work or something.
Dude, okay, so I was going to sleep like around 3-4 a.m. working on the Catalina because I was not gonna have that thing done. Imagine I finished Thursday, right? And in Willie's interview, I kind of like said it because, dude, on Wednesday, it was Wednesday, and I'm trying to line up one of the doors. Everything's assembled, everything's perfect, working on the fine little details. And I'm working on the door, and I'm bothered, dude, that one of the magnets, it was lifting the door. I'm like, go down, it will lift again. I'm like, so I'm trying to adjust it. I break the hinge, and the whole thing falls off. I'm like, okay. And when that happened, I scratched the corner of the paint on the fender and on the door. I was like, I'm just gonna slam this model on the wall, dude. I'm just going to kill it. And I call Willie, oh, I'm not going to this shit. This is bullshit. And Willie's like, calm down, bro. You're gonna fix it. No, it's not gonna get fixed. All my chances of doing anything. So finally, I fixed it Wednesday. Thursday, I was doing the lastings, and thanks to Kristen, because she took most of the driving, dude, because I was like so tired of all these weeks going to work, building late, going to work, building late, and doing homework. So Thursday, we drove the whole night. We got there at 9 a.m., no breakfast, no sleep. We went in, the models were broken, dude. All these bouncing, and 12 hours of driving broke the model. So we were like, crap. So we're working on the tables, and that's when people started coming. Hey guys, hey, sorry, we're working on the, and dude, gluing and fixing, repairing. We went back in, and there was this thing that they were trying to move models because they were not expecting so many models. I think the most that GSL had was like 500, around this, and this time was over near 800, I think, or 700 and something. So they were moving tables, moving models. So we were like, hey, we were trying to kind of like get this in the, no, you need to wait. Dude, we ended up submitting the models Friday, like around 3 or 3:30 p.m.
Dang. And was that like the last day, or was it the Saturday the last day?
Last day was Saturday. So we were cool on time. We
Okay.
were super good. But last day was Saturday morning. Yeah.
Man, and like how was that drive? I mean, I know you guys had to like, probably take turns like driving up there, but what was it that I mean, it must have been exciting knowing like we're on our way like over there, but at the same time it's like was it that adrenaline that was just keeping you guys like awake and like we gotta go, we can't stop and like
Yeah, it was a little bit of mix of everything. I was so tired, brother. When you're super tired that you cannot even, and I don't want to say it like this, but I was having hard time enjoying the moment because I was like a little frustrated with what happened and still tired, and we still had to get there and get, register and all these things happening. I had a lot of homework. Like I said, I was doing
Mhm.
homework while the ceremony was going. And still we have to drive back 12 hours, and I had to work the next day. It was all these things going on that it
Yeah.
was rush and rush and rush, and it was like a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But we were driving there, and it was so real, dude. There's a little section of Arizona. So you're driving California, and then you do Nevada, right? So then you enter one tiny corner of Arizona, and then you enter Utah, right? That little part, I think they call it like the corridor or something. It's
Horrible.
these turns and turns and turns, and you're surrounded by rocky, weird mountains.
Oh
We were
dang.
going there like around what, 3 a.m., something like that.
Yeah.
The moon was extremely bright. So it was kind of like lighting the mountains in a weird way. Dude, it looked like another planet. It looks so weird. And you're turning, and the three-dimensional mountain. It was a really good experience.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds
beautiful,
interesting.
beautiful.
That's crazy. Man, yeah, like I'm just thinking of what you're saying, like I don't miss those nights honestly of like staying up late, like feeling that pressure because it drains you for
It
sure.
does.
It does. And then after that, it's like we gotta head out. You get there to the show and you try to make the most of it, but your body's exhausted and your mind too, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And so when we got there, we put the models, and we were like, okay, we're gonna do a run, and then we run into someone and talk and this and that, and it crazy experience. When I finally got to really pay attention at the models, that's when I was like, oh, okay, now I see what they're talking about,
Yeah.
dude. All these models, you really pay attention, you cannot find one error. Everything so is perfection. Every hood that's open, it's packed with detail and perfect detail, not just throwing things and see what sticks. No, it's so well organized, and I was amazed. I was like, okay, this is something that I'm like another level, definitely another
Yeah.
level.
On that last day, when it's the last day and it's time to go and all that, Was it hard to leave, or like for even just you viewing the vibe like the way it was? Like, did people kind of take their time to leave, or were like people like this is jam, or how was that on that last day for you?
I would like to take this opportunity and thank you for mentioning that. I would like to apologize to everybody, because and even Kristen, I was like, Kristen, we need to go, because the show was supposed to, or the ceremony was supposed to finish a little earlier. And I was just looking at the hours, dude, going by and going by. And I'm like, I still have 12 hours. I haven't done homework. I the rest of my homework, I did it on my way back on the car. Kristen was driving, and I was like on the computer with my cell phone as, as a Wi-Fi. And so when the ceremony ended, that's when everybody wants to network. And fortunately, because of what I won, and this is why, again, I apologize to people, because they wanted to like talk to me, and I was like, I am so sorry, I need to go. They were like, what is wrong with you? Calm the fuck down, And I was like rushing, grabbing my stuff, and let's go, let's go. The car was already packed and ready to go. Another thing that we do, dude, there was an auction for models the Saturday night. We decided to buy all these damn models, and then we're like, holy shit, how are we gonna take this back, dude? All these boxes. We're like, shit. So we ended up taking them out under the seats. Dude, it was a mess, but the best experience I've ever had. GSL. It's insane. All these cool people that I met. It was an amazing experience.
No, yeah, when you said about like leaving, right? I felt that feeling going to NNL,
Mhm.
because I remember going to NNL, like booking a hotel room for the night before, right? And like showing up the night before, you stay in the hotel, then the next day is the NNL. But then after the NNL, I would just like take off, right away, because I'm looking at the clock. I'm going like, all right, if this show ends at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m., depending what time I'm leaving out of here, and if I get food or what happens, if I leave by 6 p.m. out of San Jose, I won't be getting home till midnight, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, you
And I'm
stuck.
like, do I want to get home at midnight, or do I want to get home at 11 or 10, you know? So so I would have to plan like I got to jam early. I got to leave a little early, and you take off. And I remember also like back then taking like a paint class in San Mateo where I met my homie Javier, which later you met at Coast Airbrush.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I met him, and I remember it sucked because on the last day, because I wanted to enjoy that day. The last day was on a Sunday, and I had met some of the other painters, and after the classes were done, people were gonna, like you said, they were gonna network, people were gonna hang out, they were gonna eat and just chill, and that's what I wanted to do, but I needed to get home because I needed to work the next day.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
just remember it being like 4 p.m. and I only had time to like real quick say later on and buy a couple things that was being offered like for sale, and then I took off. And I don't know, I do regret it, but there's nothing I can't change the past. And I'm just like, man, I wish I would have had more time. But this one time that I went to NNL, I actually booked an extra night for the hotel. So when the show was done, I stayed another night,
You can go and chill.
chill, and
Yeah,
then I went home the next day, like around noon or whatever. I wanted it to be super relaxing, right?
that's the best way to do it, dude. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, but you know what, man? It's tough because you had homework on top of that, and I mean, dang, I mean, I haven't gone to school in a long time, and I know that feeling when you got
It's
work.
stressing, dude.
It's
It's
stressful.
stressing.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
It
Um,
definitely is.
that episode that you mentioned, I'm actually, like I mentioned before, I'm working on a documentary. I was like filming myself going through all this crap on building the Catalina and going to NNL, filming NNL, and it's, dude, from the beginning all the way till I get the awards and everything, and driving back, doing content. So I'm working on this documentary. Part of that documentary, we go and visit Willie, right? Because he is going to take us to Coast Airbrush when we met your friend. So your friend is gonna be on my documentary. You were talking and exchanging all this stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, whatever. So that section of Coast Airbrush, I'm gonna throw it on my documentary.
Oh, that's dope, man. That's what's up. Yeah, he'll like that, dude. That'll be
Really
awesome.
cool guy, by the way. So knowledgeable, dude. He was
Yeah.
showing all these artwork with the airbrush and all. I'm like, holy. That's when I was like,
It
this.
was a right place in the right time.
Yeah,
And it's a
100%.
trip because he lives in Northern California, but he happened to like come cross paths there. So that's pretty crazy.
Super cool guy.
Going forward, like where do you plan to take the Catalina now? Let's say for future shows, have you thought of like maybe like NNL next year, or what are your plans? Hopefully, for viewers or listeners to want to get to see this in person.
So I always try to do a tour with a model. I do, for example, I finish it and I visit the immediate next show, right? Let's say, SoCal Open. So, and then I start taking it to all the different shows around SoCal. And then when the next year SoCal show, I stop bringing the model, right? Now the Catalina, because it was the crazy build that I did, it was so difficult to me. And at the same time, GSL, I wanted to put those things together. Like there's no other time in history that I'm going to be able to do it for myself. So, but the next show that I want to take it to is the one in Santa Maria. It's not this weekend, but the next one.
Yes, it's like towards the end of the month. I want to
Correct.
say yes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the one. I'm gonna do, of course, the Orange Con. I'm gonna do Sprue Fest. I'm gonna take it to NHRA. I'm gonna take it to there's all these other little shows, not always IPMS. There's all these random shows. Oh, there's the one that Cruising for a Cure, I believe.
Oh yes.
I want to bring it to that too. So yeah, it's gonna be around. If you guys want to see it, I'm always posting on my Instagram where I'm gonna take them and the whole schedule. I'm always asking people, hey, where's the next show? So we can all go.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, because I definitely want to see that in person, and I'm pretty sure a lot of others that saw it online want to also check that out too. So that's something that we definitely want to see. And for like the builds, or like you normally pre-plan, you do your research. When you decided, all right, I want to do the Catalina, and you start doing your research and linking it with Willie and doing all these things, how further out were you in time from like when you started that to the GSL date when you knew, dang, like if I must start now, this is how much time I got?
So, dude, we were talking about it with Willie when the whole story, when he gave me the car, he's like, now you have no excuses. I'm like, oh shit, I have to build it now. He gave me this Catalina, and that was 2 years ago when I assisted to my first SoCal Open. That's when I met Willie. I think that's when I met you as well. I went to say, oh no, I met you at the other show. So I met Willie there, and then he was like, I'm going to take pictures of your car. So that's when we had the conversation. When I went to his place and he set up the booth and he was taking pictures and everything. That was 2 years ago. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to start it and this and that. But I was like, what can I do with the car? Nothing. I had to do all these ideas that I have in my mind. I have to practice somewhere else. So I started practicing in all these cars that I'm telling you, and the spaceships, and doing the Mayan thing and painting and doing all this crap, right? It was on and off because I built the Actros, for example, the Mercedes-Benz tow truck. I built it in between. So the Catalina, I left it on the side, and then I retook it and do a little bit, and then I left it again until when I said NNL. It was like 2 months before NNL that I really hit it hard.
Dang. And was it hard to keep it under wraps, like not saying to anybody like I'm working on this car, to even show any
It was
photos?
really difficult, yeah. It's
Yeah,
really hard.
like I'm sure it happens to all of us. You do something that you're very satisfied, like your eyes are just so it's like eye candy, and you take a photo of it, and you're like, wow, this looks sick, and you want to post it, but you resist.
Yeah,
You go,
yeah,
I don't know, I need to wait, I need to wait.
exactly.
It must have been tough.
And this being a top secret, thing,
Hmm.
because that was one of the things that I have never touched a lowrider, and it wasn't my thing until I was like, oh crap, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
And everything, the dedicated magazine, Willie, who's shout out to Willie, he's such a. And by the way, dude, Willie's way too humble, dude. He should
yeah.
say more of what he does, because he's like, oh yeah, I know a couple of things. When he starts explaining, holy shit, dude, like a lot. And then
Yeah.
all these bills that he has painted, he hasn't put away. He's like, oh, let me think. I think I have a bill that I want to show you. He pulls it out. I'm like, what is this thing doing in a box, dude? Seriously. Well, yeah, he pulls models and he's like, art. And I'm like, Willie, what? Take it to shows? Like, no, I don't take them to shows. Come on,
Yeah, yeah.
I think I learned from the best, man. There is no, I couldn't have done it without Willie's guidance. Definitely.
Hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, props to Willie, man. That's
Oh,
dope. It's
uh,
does it trip you out like from when you started going to like SoCal Open, and then like when you started meeting people, and then through the years to now, like how many people you've met?
yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
a
Oh,
lot. And then even that GSL, like you're traveling more to a lot of more events. So
something that I have this ability, Edgar, and I was born with this extremely good skill, dude. I can forget names like nobody else. Like you can, you haven't even told me your name, and I already forgot about it. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what's wrong with my brain, dude. But I hear three names, I go back to the first person, and I'm like blank. Like, what?
yeah. No, it happened. It happens.
Dude, so at all these shows, there's all these amazing people that it takes me like 10 shows to finally get their name, like,
Yeah, I gotta see. It's like I gotta see you more than once.
yeah. I
What a
have that
trip.
thing,
Have you ever thought about like in the future, maybe next or something, like to start traveling to like the East Coast, like the NNL East, or just I don't know, other shows that are like the Acme, that Atlanta show. I hear it's like very popular. A lot of model builders
I
go to
have
that.
seriously thought about expanding my visits, and kind of like it's kind of like what I tell people. Dude, the very backbone of evolution, it's competition. And you see that in animals, in humans, look at the Olympics, look at politics, look at the car industry, the plane industry, wars. It's human mentality. You have to compete in order to grow. Now, that is called sportsmanship, competition in a bad way, like, oh, me. That is not real competition. Real competition is you get your ass kicked, go and shake his hand and be like, dude, that was amazing. I'm honored to get my ass kicked, by something really that cool. So going back to your question, yes, I have thought about traveling, but the issue that I run into, dude, my models are so weird and that they break very easily. So, dude, I throw my two trucks in a box and take a plane, dude. I'll ride with Legos, dude. Like things all over, all mixed.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to find a solution to the transporting of your models, because like you said, it's like the sizes, the way, the design, everything, how it's put together. The slightest movements or like a drop,
Oh,
and you have to put it in that basket going through customs or
yeah.
whatever, and then they check it, TSA, poof, like drops it, and you're like, hey, what the hell? And like you said, you
They'll
open it, it's
never
all in
make it.
pieces.
I remember this story you were telling someone. I forgot who it was, that they were like, "What do you have on your bag?" And then you open it, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, that's a cool." car, they were looking at your model. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure if you like, you would have to like open it up and be like, hey guys, there's a model car right here.
Be
It's
careful.
yeah, be very careful,
I
man.
think I can get away with the Catalina doing that. I think I can
Yeah,
travel with the Catalina.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. That's always kind of an issue. There's like friends that travel all the time, and they have carry on, and I've seen over time how they've kind of evolved buying cases and just different setups that they got. So this way, nothing happens to the models, but still, it could be nerve-wracking at some
Oh,
point. You know. Which was the show? It was a Vegas one, I believe. The one that you did, it was like two aircrafts that are like put together. Uh, that you did it in a scale that's not even like
yeah.
made. How did you transport that?
Okay, I have done two of those crazy airplanes. So
Mhm.
one that I did, one airplane goes on top of the other. Oh, you know what? I was telling you about that long time ago on the other podcast. That's the one.
Dang, that's crazy right there. I'm tripping out
This
on that.
Yeah, this is the one. So that little airplane on the top, that's where the pilot goes. I don't know if you can see the detail on the engine and the machine guns. And then the bottom plane has also the motor opened. But this is the one. This is the first one. This is 1/32 scale. So this plane is called a Mistel. This plane, if you want to buy a kit, they only sell it in 1/48, which is kind of like half the size of this. And in 1/48, it's pretty small though. It's a cool scale, but I built 1/32, the big scale. So that's the story. When I arrived the first time at Vegas, they're like, "Hey, 1/48 is that way." I'm like, "I know. I was carrying my plane." Dude, I just told you go that way. I'm like, "No." They're like, "What the hell?" Oh shit! They finally got it. That it was a 1/32. So that one you have to buy the two planes, and then you make the structure and everything. Now with the crazy other one that you mentioned, the one that is one next to the other, that one is 48 inches in wingspan. It will not fit inside the car sideways. You have to put both seats down and slide it all the way in the seats as if it was like a freaking snowboard.
Damn, dude, it's that big. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's huge, dude. It took me a full almost 2 days just to build the platform,
Hmm.
all the bases and all the stuff that holds the wings, because it's so fragile. It moves so much in the center that the support to transport it has to be perfectly even. So designing the transport was a freaking mission.
Man, that's a trip. From building, scale model airplanes and aircraft, and then also doing like vehicles. Is there one? Which one came first when you started getting into scale modeling?
When I was a kid, I started with okay, so the first model that I built was a NASCAR. My uncle gave it to me, and I was like, "Yeah, a little car." And my young brother and myself, so I put it together, and we were playing that we were mechanics. So we will crush it on the wall, dude, and all these parts flying. And we're like, we're gonna assess damage, right? So we used to go and pick up the parts. What broke? Oh, look, this is kind of like studying the damage, and then we'll glue it again and again against the wall. So that was my first model. But personally, I wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid, so I started buying planes and building planes and helicopters. That was my passion, dude. And then one of the first cars that I actually bought for myself when I was back in the university in Guatemala was a Catalina, the same kit, a 62 Catalina. I built it back in Guatemala. I painted it red and I left it there.
Dang, that's the trip. So it came in full circle. The
Yeah.
the Catalina. I have a model kind of like that, like where it was one of those like earlier models that I built, and where at that moment I was still in high school, and I felt like, all right, this is the best I can do. And it was a 67 AMT, and it was an Impala. And I built it with one color, no primer, you know? And the paint's already like you can see it kind of fading into the styrene right now. And I kept the model, and like when I started to learn how to do like patterns or lower patterns,
Huh?
it was a 67 Impala that I stepped back into that, and I did, and I went all out on this car with the help of Armando Flores guiding me with like the paint and like how I wanted it to be getting chrome. So I have both of those cars, and it's to me that's like my full circle, you know, like the beginning to like the now as an adult.
I have a question for you. Can you find that model again? The one that you built, like you said, you know, you built it the first time and everything. Can you find it?
Yeah, they still make it.
All right. So I was trying to start a thing with what you're
Mhm.
saying. I want to show you something.
Yeah.
This is, I'm so proud of this thing, dude. So check this out. This car is the one that not this one specifically, it's the same kit. So when I was a kid, my uncle gave me this kit. Obviously, that's the one we were crashing against the wall and assessing damage and all that. And you know, that thing got lost in time. So now I think it was like a year ago, I was like, it got on me like, okay, I gotta get that kit again, the Miller Lite NASCAR. I'm like, I gotta get it. I gotta get it. I found it, dude. Packed, completely sealed and everything. And I built it live. And the reason why I wanted to build it live, I told the guys, okay, this was the first model I ever built. I want to build it now with all the skills and, you know, knowledge that I acquired throughout the years. I'm like, I don't want to build it like that. I want to resemble how I built it back in the day. So, dude, I bought a tester's glue, the one that is crap.
Yeah. The one with the red, it's like a red bottle.
The
Or,
orange red
yeah,
is
yeah, or
the
yeah.
one that smells so strong.
Hmm.
Dude, I started the live build. All these people started coming. I think, I don't know if you were there. I only use my hands and the tester thing. I was breaking the
Oh,
part,
like twisting
like
it.
from,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And why? And you can see all the glue, the decals are all like
Let's
shit,
see.
everything. But this is what I wanted to do, build the car that had started me on this thing, dude. The very first thing that I ever touched. And that's why I display it so proud. You know, this is what started me in scale modeling. And I
Oh,
build it how I build it, like all crappy with no colors, with nothing. Look at the tires with the huge, you know, center marks and everything, dude. It's just a glue bomb, literally a glue bomb.
oh, that's dope, man. I like
But
that concept. What you're saying,
I wanted to start a thing of people getting their
yeah,
models and
yeah.
everything like
Like
that.
like the ones that like started me off when I started going to like my first like hobby store, it was a 62 Bel Air by AMT, and then there was also the 58 Impala by AMT. Like those were always like kits that I want to say they were probably like I don't know if they were like $8 or something, you know, and I would constantly just be buying that kit because they were cheap. And I still remember like just building it and having it set right, and it was just stock. It wasn't slammed, it wasn't custom, nothing, you know. And like in order for me to look at this car like to look slammed right, I remember I would get the car and I would go on lay on my bed. And normally, you know, my bed was made so like the top of the sheet was always smooth or whatever.
Always smooth, yeah.
But then I would like kind of like mess it up. So the sheets kind of like, you know, mountainy, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I would get the car and I'd put it in there. So then the car would look slammed, right? And,
Nice.
and and I would just lay there and I would just be staring at it, like imagining, like, you know, what if this car was for real? What if I own this car? And just admiring the like a 62 Bel Air, like every angle from the sides, the corners, from different angles of the shape of the car. It wasn't an Impala. I had no access. I didn't even know if even a 62 Impala model kit even existed at that time when I was a kid. The Bel Air was the closest thing. And I just fell in love with the car. That I would even say if I saw a 62, if I had opportunity to buy a 62 Impala or a Bel Air, I'd go with the Bel Air. I know everybody would be like Impala, but it's like I don't know what it is, but the Bel Air for me.
Dude, right now that you're saying this, it hit me so hard right now with memories. And to everybody that's listening and to everybody in scale modeling in general, I want to make this observation. I was standing, dude. I walked in the GSL main room and it was packed with people. Dude, I crossed my arms and I was looking around. And the first thing that came to my mind was like, we're all a bunch of freaking kids, dude, enjoying something that never we never passed this, we still enjoy the models, we still enjoy looking at them, and you're proud of what you build. And dude, you feel the same thing that you felt like when you're explaining right now how you felt with, dude, doing your bed and putting them and just staring at the damn thing for hours and getting those feelings like wishing and dreaming. I remember my planes, and when I was a kid, I wanted to make myself small and jump in the cabin and be able to fly one of those planes. It's all these memories. And dude, look how old we are now, and we're still on the same thing with the same passion. That's gotta be amazing, dude. It is amazing.
Yeah, no, it is, man. I feel like when you go to a show and there's vendors who are selling either things from their collection or just like old magazines and stuff like that. When I was a kid, I wasn't aware of any like Scale Auto or whatever, like magazines, right, from back then. And I remember some years back going to the show and just picking up some old issues from the 90s. And at home, like now, just casually flipping through the pages and just being like, wait a minute, there's an ad here for bare metal foil. I didn't even know that existed. Like, I know it exists now, but I didn't know it existed back then. It was already advertised. And I just remember as a kid, thinking like, how am I gonna paint the trim on this car, like on the Impala? And I remember just like putting tape and then getting a marker or just spraying it. And then you're like, oh, we got it. And then you take off the tape and it's already running down.
Bleeding, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's just like acting weird. Or you buy the testers like silver. And then
Chrome
I remember,
silver.
I remember those brushes. It was like the bristles were even plastic.
Yeah,
And
like
you
so
dip
fat.
it. And yeah, and then you're like and then you could see like just like the paint just flowing everywhere and like not doing what you wanted it to do. And you'd be like, damn, I guess this is the best that it's gonna be done.
When I was a kid and I was building planes, my mom wanted me to, paint because I had the ability of drawing when I was a kid, right? So my mom wanted me to paint in oil colors. So she sent me to these oil color, classes and everything. And she bought me the oil colors, the canvas, and I was like, oh, freaking Da Vinci stuff, Michelangelo being, painting my landscapes and volcanoes, all that crap. But my thing, I was like, I want to go back to my planes. And I was like, oh, I have the fine brushes, right? Not the testers one. I'm like, oh, I'm different. Dude, I wanted to paint my planes with the oil colors. It looked like crap. They will never dry. You put the finger and it was like a big stain. Trying to get, those looks that you wanted for it. And I had no idea all this crap. And actually, when I started, it didn't exist. All that stuff, dude. It was mostly model masters, enamels. I never had about acrylics. So yeah, all that stuff is new.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I always use the rattle can, and I remember going to Walmart and at some point seeing that they were selling like a set where it was like an aerosol can of just air, and you connect like a tube, and you could have like your airbrush.
The airbrush. I keep
Yeah,
so many of those. Badger.
yeah.
Badger will sell them.
It never really, if anything, I just spent more time troubleshooting it or like trying to figure out like what, but I really never like could say like I painted a full car, like, just sat on the body waiting for it to dry.
I got in trouble once because I noticed the Badger thing. It was like a valve, like a car valve from the
Mhm.
tires. Oh, me with my imagination, dude. I was like, I finished like 3 of those, and my mom's like, I'm not gonna buy more of those. They're very expensive. And I'm like, "Ah." So I remember the valve. I'm like, I have an idea. I walk outside and I see the car, dude. I try the tire,
Oh,
and I'm like, yes,
dang.
So, dude, I finished the first tire. Oh, my genius ass moves to the other one, dude. The whole car was sitting on flat tires.
Yeah.
But I kind of like fainted. My mom got freaking.
Yeah,
What the hell? The whole
that's
car.
crazy.
Yeah, I did it with tires one time. I
Man.
remember those guys.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah,
ever
it
see
was.
Humbro paints? Little metal, tiny containers.
Uh-huh.
You ever see those?
What was the name again?
Humbro.
Umbro.
Humbrol.
Mhm.
Humbrolls. They were French, I think, or
I
something.
think so. It sounds familiar. I remember a paint brand called Boyd, like Boyd.
Oh, but those were spray cans.
Yeah, the rattle
Yeah.
can, like the
So I
smaller
still have a few of those. Like, oh,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I still remember that. Yeah, it's crazy because like even in high school when I was like a senior, I remember during that time I wasn't building models, but I still it's almost one of those things like it was still there, like in the back of my mind, but I
Mhm.
just didn't know anybody that was like doing it,
Into
right?
it.
So during that time, I was just like paying attention, like to other things like music, like getting into other things. But I still remember there was a kid who I went to school with in junior high, and I ran into him, in high school, and he was taking like this, like it was like I don't know the proper name for it, but it was like an Air Force kind of class or something where he would have to come in uniform,
Oh, wow.
um, like maybe once a week or so for this class. But he was walking into school and he had this box, and inside the box was a helicopter, like a scale model.
Nice.
And I saw it, and I was like, and it was like military colors, like a matte finish. Now that I think of it, it wasn't glossy or nothing
No.
like that, right?
Huh?
And I was like, damn, that looks bad, right? And at the time, I was like, dude, like, how'd you paint that? And he's like, oh, I airbrushed it. I'm like, you know how to airbrush? Like to me, that was like very foreign. And he's like, yeah, yeah, just did do it right here at the house, and I just kept telling him, man, if I go to the store and I buy like a '64 Impala, would you paint it for me? And I'll build it. And he'd be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, for real? He's like, yeah. And then I almost feel bad because it's like I had him commit to it, and I gave it to him, and then he was like, "What color do you want it?" And I was like, "I don't know, like a red or something. Like I just wanted to look dope." And then he takes it, and I mean, it took him a while to like paint it, but I was never bothering him. Like, "Hey, what's up with the car?" It just time passed, and then when I got it, he gave it to me, but he seemed to be like in a rush. But
Okay.
he gave it back to me. He's like, "Hey, here you go, dude. Like, it's painted. All you got to do is assemble it, all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, cool, cool, cool." And I was just like, "Hey, what do I owe you or what?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. I gotta go. I gotta go." So then, I'm looking at the car, and I'm like, "Dang, this is dope." And he painted it a red color, but it was more like a metallic kind of
Oh,
red under
wow.
the sun. I was like, dope. And then the bottom was like silver, black interior. So I remember like just gluing it and like keeping it, and I bought a little case for it and everything. And I thought it was dope. I was like, finally, I have a like a dope little model right here. But
Nice.
then it hit me. I was like, later, it started to bother me because I was like, but I didn't even paint it. I
Uh,
didn't. I just assembled it. Like I felt kind of fake, sort of, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like, but that's the cool thing that you were looking for resources to get, something
Yeah, like to get pulled
higher.
back
Yeah,
in or
learning.
something, you know?
Yeah,
And like, I ended up putting the model away and time passed. And then I remember, like, I don't know, I was like bored or something. Like I felt like I wanted to get into something again, right? Like I wanted to, I didn't know what. Like I like, yeah, like I collected trading cards. I was into that, but I didn't want to get back into that. And then I was into like comic books back in the day, and then I didn't want to get too into that. I wanted to do something creative.
yeah,
So then, I started buying like, oh, I found the model here, a model there, and I would still kind of put them away, not really do much. But it wasn't until like later where, I was into like running. Like, there was a minute where I was like running, like, and even my homies would get together, would go like exercise, just running, right?
right.
And and then I remember at some point I couldn't run no more because my knee started to hurt
Uh,
like bad, right? And it was almost like I made an excuse for myself. Like I just started building the models, and my friends like, oh wait, so you're gonna like stop running and building models
Start feeling
so you could
totally the
get better.
opposite.
And I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I just ran with that. I'm like, oh, this is how I'm getting better, This is curing me because I'm just sitting down and I'm doing something.
Yeah,
And then I just started to transition back into it. But by then I was like, you know what, there has to be a lot of research like on the internet. All the answers have to be out there, like there has whatever I couldn't do then, I'm pretty sure I could do it now. I just need to know. I need to know the information,
exactly.
and once I started to kind of like find, like, scratching the surface a little, then I started meeting people more and more and more, and then that circle of friends started to grow big, where now once I started to go to shows and get exposed to seeing what I was seeing, I was like, like, this is nuts. Like I feel complete, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this thing that, I had in the back of my mind, like this connection thing that I grew up that was there. And then I moved on to other things, but it was still there. And I stepped back into it. And
that's it.
yeah, and I was like, dang, like, I don't know, it was just crazy. Like that feeling,
I
of,
think it never leaves you, dude. Like once
Mhm.
you do it, you're kind of like stuck with it.
Yeah.
You want to go back to it and redo it. And instead of me being like, oh, you know what, I think I'm done with. I'm like, I keep buying more crap, and I have so many to build and
Mhm.
ideas, dude.
Yeah.
If I could work on every idea, never end. I need
Yeah.
like 6 lives.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I always I get excited when I meet someone when they say, "Oh, I just started doing it like a year ago, 2 years ago," and seeing that progression of the level that they're at, I like it because it's like it just goes to show that it's never too late. Like no matter what age you're at, if you're, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age or young.
Dude, Kristen, I kind of like hate how Kristen builds, dude. I'm like, I wasn't like that. I started like everybody else building
Yeah.
shit. And here comes this girl, like, oh, magic. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? How? I'm like, holy crap, dude. Like 4 models
Mhm.
plus a couple he's done. But I remember, dude, my first models, like you said, no paint, freaking using, wall, glue to put them together. And I don't know, it nothing to do with what there's out there now.
Yeah. It's
But
um it's crazy because I feel like the more information that we put out, like the output we put out and like
it's,
into the community,
it's like a curve.
yeah, and it also like it saves the community years, right? Like a modeler, like by you sharing some info and some tips, like this is what you can do. It just saves them years to learn that. Because if they go off on their own, they're gonna learn it, but it might take a longer time. Because I
Yes.
know there's stuff I've learned that I learned it within months. that I know, man, that would have took me some years to wrap my head around it and seeing
Yeah.
like
To come
what,
up with the ideas and the solution.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Of
for
course,
real.
they were the pioneers.
Yeah, so it's kind of a trip, like when things like that, happen because we see something and we're like, we want to replicate that or try to do something like that. Or like let's say I see one of your cars, I'm like, dang, how do you even start or what? But later, if you break it down and you're like, look, this is step one, step two,
Uh-huh.
step three, and then I see everything come together, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let me try it now.
Yes.
And then I'll just save me some time right there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all it is. They look complicated, but dude, like they say, every journey starts with the first step.
Yeah, that's a cool. And as far as your like these awards now, have you found a proper place? Like where you gonna put them or?
Dude, I have awards under my bed. I have freaking everywhere, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
There's so many of, the little ones that I have no room. I think I'm gonna put the nice ones in display, and the other ones I'm just gonna start kind of like, piling them up or putting them in boxes or something. I
yeah.
need more display cases for more models too.
No, yeah. I mean, like, because as far as like your work area, do you work in chaos? Is it or is your bench? Do you like to
I
clean
am
or
the
you? Or,
messiest person in the freaking planet. It's crazy because I like everything organized, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be an adult, and I organize everything. Dude, 5 minutes into the model, everything's like a mess again. I'm like, I'm a messy builder. I am a messy builder. But it's crazy because your mind is so into the build that you're here and then you're just extending your hand and grabbing, and you're not worried about putting it nice and no, you're just going all over the place. I mean, I don't think that's the way to do it, but unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, everybody like works different, Like some people like to clean their desk and everything, have it cleared before they get started. I try to like clean mine as much as I can, or like when I'm done, just because my daughter, I don't want her like reaching over and getting like a hobby knife
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something, So I have to kind of like put all that stuff away. But there is times though, sometimes where I'm working on something and I just kind of leave it as is. I'll be like, I'll continue tomorrow. And I mean, the tools are put away, but the models are there, like the seats, everything's there. And she sees it, but she don't get it, you know. And I'm like, all right, cool. I've never had to tell her, no, don't get that.
Yeah,
It's like she
exactly.
knows.
That is dangerous. You have to be careful.
Yeah.
Scalpel, dude, or a hobby knife, or
Mm,
the problem with me, and I've heard this a long time, you have to prioritize. I cannot sacrifice the things I like. And dude, I have school, I have work, I have scale modeling, I like real cars, I have my stuff, I'm working with other things. The problem with me is always time. I don't have the time. So when I sit down, unfortunately, I cannot be like, oh, I'm going to clean and do it. I'm straight up build and I'll finish tomorrow. I'll worry about it tomorrow. Look at GSL. I barely finished the car. If I would, and throughout my documentary, I'm like,
mm,
and I show my mess. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry. Look at, I don't have time to clean. It's
yeah.
unfortunate, but if I clean, I don't finish my model. So which one is more important? So with me, it's always time the problem.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel like I've had that issue, for the longest. I feel like I was thinking back like before, like before me and my girl got together and we had our baby and everything. Like I used to have so much time, right? I was like, you know, uh, doing this, doing that, and then things kind of stopped for a while. I even had to stop doing the podcast for a while just because of the responsibilities, kick in and like as time passed, I remember like when I started to do the interviews back up again with my guests, there were some guests who were also like first time fathers, and and they will start to tell me like, look, don't trip, like your kid's gonna grow and that you're gonna get the time. Because I remember the beginning feeling like, nah, I think this is it forever. Like
Looks impossible.
yeah, like I don't know if I'm ever gonna have time to ever build. Like, I might have to until maybe I'm 50 or something, right? I was thinking like that. But then as time went on, I started to see like the opportunities of time of like, okay, I know like during the day I gotta work, but then this time to this time's family time. And then from this time, I could either rest or I could devote like a couple hours to building, or on this day I'll devote it just to conducting interviews again. I had to just kind of find that balance in the organization. But then even then it hit me, there would be times where I'd have the time and I have the project in front of me, but there's no motivation, you
E-
know
Exactly.
and I'm just like sitting there, and then I'm looking at the clock, and then like an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, and I'm just like, damn, like I didn't even do nothing, and I feel empty. And then I go to sleep, and then the next day is kind of the same thing. But then um it took time to get that motivation to get out of that funk. But I think my motivation's changed now. Like now, when I see the kind of work you guys do and other modelers do, but then like from what you tell me, like you're putting in time, you're staying up late, and you're making it happen. Like those are all things that keep me going, because I'm like, the time is now.
100%.
What am I waiting for? Do I really want to see this bill or what? So I'm just like, I have to go in.
I learned the hard way that discipline. I'm trying to discipline myself to stuff like that. And now that you're talking about time, what I ended up sacrificing, dude, I don't watch TV. I don't, go out anymore and then just, waste time. And by all means, it doesn't mean, because you also need to be social. You also need all those kinds of things in your life, be social and stuff. But I kind of like put that away so I can get more things done that I like. I like to work on my cars. I have a motorcycle. I love the entrepreneurship thing. I'm always looking for things to do. I sell scale models. I buy scale models. I build scale models. I have to work. I have to. So what I ended up doing is kind of like sacrificing the waste of time, watching TV, just laying without doing anything, being on the phone for hours. All those things, dude. I'm like, what do I want? Watch dumb stuff on Facebook or build the stuff that I like, And you brought a good topic, dude. Motivation. I was going through Facebook and I started noticing that some people were like, well, I'm not motivated anymore. Go through my stash and nothing really, catches my attention. I started telling a few guys, look, whether you are into race cars, classics, planes, figures, bro, go on YouTube, begin to watch videos about, if you're into cars, classic shows and these and races and collectors and people explaining, dude, it gets you fired up. You watch a few of those and you don't even want to finish watching. You want to go to your model and start duplicate, because it inspires you to do all that stuff. If you're into planes, watch videos about airplanes and flying and all that stuff. Dude, it gets you going.
No,
That,
you're right. Yeah, because even on one of the builds I was doing, this GTR, the R35, the box art is what grabbed me. But then once I started researching the car, and I started finding like these like 3 minute, 5 minute little music videos, where it was nice, because I mean it had good music on it, but it was more the cinematography, the way everything was filmed, and different angles, and it was like
and
at
they make the
night.
car so badass.
Oh, big time. Yeah, it made
Yeah.
it made the car like, this is like the best car out there, right? Like
Dude,
every video, like, was like, damn, this car is a badass car.
rolling slow.
Yeah, yeah,
That gets you going, dude.
yeah. And I would just be like, dang, like this is what I want my car to look like.
Yeah, yeah.
This is sick.
Dude, I have to see that Civic. I saw pictures. I'm like, God damn! Like seriously,
Thanks. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have to
yeah.
see
No, you
that.
will. You'll see it.
When you were asking me, I'm asking you now. When are you going to bring this car to a show?
Yeah, I mean, whatever upcoming show that I have, the time to come to, I'll bring it out.
Are you gonna go to Santa Maria?
That one I won't be in town that
Okay.
during that weekend. It's crazy because like it's kind of like you want to do like this tour thing,
Yeah.
and I do want to bring it to NNL next year. But that's the thing with me too. It's like I want to take it to as many shows as I can that I'll be attending. But then it gets to a point where once like a year or that time passes, I just want to put it back in its case and just have it in my room, and I don't know,
Call
like
it call
I'll
it
keep
a
like I'll,
model.
I'll I'll keep it, but I just like keeping my cars kind of low key, like just chilling, and then I'll I don't know, maybe I'll bring it out or something. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want you to see it. You
Oh
know,
no, yeah, oh, dude. Yeah, I saw the work. I was like, okay,
no, thanks.
guys, in some serious stuff now.
Yeah,
Dude, I
there's a lot
love
of
that.
things that I learned from that car, and there is still like I still have another EF9 Civic that I would want to build like later, learning from what I learned from this one and then applying it to this one, but then adding more to it because like I love that car, but there is like like a couple of things that I go, oh man, I should have done maybe this a little different, but I didn't know until now that I see it. But I'm like, it's no big deal. Like on the next one. I'll uh I'll definitely switch those things up. But what you were saying about how things that don't excite, right? Like the stashes and all that. There was a time where I kind of went through that too, where I would like stack up projects or just things that I'd buy, I'd put them in my closet, right? And every time I'd open the closet, I'd be like, oh hell yeah, like I can't wait to build these. And then I started to build them, but then I reached the point where I kind of burned myself out, and then that motivation just kind of died. And I feel it's because my interest changed, right? Like I was buying a lot of lowrider cars, I was buying a lot of custom cars, and like the Ford shoe boxes, Mercs, and all that. But
Uh-huh.
then I did build, some of those cars, but then after a while, I was just telling myself, all right, I need to step out of my comfort zone. I need to start building other things that are different that I'm new to. And then, but then I was like, but wait, I still have all these projects. Like, what do I do? So one of the solutions is I started either selling, trading, or giving away some of those like projects
Okay.
and even some that I didn't even start on, they were still like pretty, new or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And once I felt like I was getting rid of responsibilities, I guess. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I don't or attachments, I don't know. But
Yeah.
then once I started acquiring like new cars, that was something totally different. That was like more exciting because now it's more challenging. And I was like, all right, it feels cool. Like I'm stepping into something new, like a new stage or whatever. And then when I would see like freshly new artwork or whatever, I was just pumped, you know? And I know like on Instagram, I've seen some auto builders that they'll acquire kits, but then later they're just like, hey guys, I'm selling all these kits.
Yeah.
I don't plan on building them, but they're from the stash, hit me up, if you want them or whatever. And I'm sure like, once they sell them, it's a great feeling, like a weight off their back, like cool, like I don't have to like commit to that no more. It's gone.
I noticed that it's very easy to start collecting a bunch of shit. Like seriously, dude, there's modelers out there. People look at my stash, 3,000 models. Bro, you need 6 lifetimes to build all that stuff and don't do anything else. Just build. It's impossible. It's impossible. At the end of the day, it's just gonna be, I am sorry to say it, but I'm gonna be there too. Another dead guy that somebody gets rid of their collection. That's it. So what I did on it's kind of like to combat, that aspect of scale modeling, and at the same time don't lose my motivation, I started getting only the very models that I really go like, wow, this is something for example, to me, racing is a big thing, right? So I started collecting only Le Mans winners, big famous cars that I know that if I'm gonna have my Le Mans collection, it's these real race cars or like a very unique BMW that I like. I like the brand, I like Porsche, BMW, Audis. Those are my things, right? So now that I did the lowrider, I was like, and here he goes. I have to do a 64 Impala. I always liked the car, always liked it. When I worked with a shop that we used to with a race car shop, the owner, he owned a 64. It was light blue, but it was on bags. I think it was on 2022s, low profile tires and bag. The car was insane, dude. I always liked the car. And now that I'm doing the lowrider thing, I'm like, I still have some paint left over. I think I'm gonna try to like
Do it.
do it. Yeah, I have to. I have to
Hell
do
yeah.
a 64. But there's so many other things that I cannot make up my mind what model to start next.
Mhm. Yeah, there's just so many options, that are out there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's easy and very addicting to collect like kits.
Super addictive.
And it's almost the same with like, even myself, I find myself being addicted to like getting like aftermarket products because it's not just the kit. Now I want to add
All the
this.
crap around it.
Yeah, I want this custom, that custom, or even finding like materials and things like that. Like, even at work, like, my dad would be cutting stuff up and he'd be like throwing away these like really thin wires. And I'm
You
like,
have to collect
wait,
them.
wait, wait, hold on, don't throw them
Yeah.
away. Just hold on to them, give them to me.
Don't throw them out. Yeah.
I could use these.
I'm always
And
looking for crap like that too.
yeah, and there's all these like little like things you could always reuse, for the builds right there. But like right now I'm working on a high ace. That's like another van, a Toyota van. And I'm like super like motivated. There's because I go, what's holding me back? The time is now.
Do it, dude. 100%. I know high aces, dude, like the back of my hand. Um, I think I told you in the previous, my mom used to have a business, school buses, right? She used to have a transportation business, and all of the cars that we had originally were high aces.
Dang, that's
The
dope.
first high ace that she ever bought was an 87 high ace. Round lights, little tiny. There were two types, the high ace and the light ace. I don't know if you ever saw those.
I've never seen the light ace. Nah.
Okay, Google it, LITE ace. You'll see it later, but we had one light ace and like 5 different high aces.
Uh-huh.
I learned to drive on a 5-speed on the column high ace.
Oh shoot. Yeah.
5 speed on the column high ace. Four-cylinder diesel engine.
Uh-huh.
That's how they were. All were diesels.
Wow.
Beautiful Toyotas.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. I wonder if there'll be any at that show this weekend.
Oh,
What up,
definitely. There are gonna be a lot of them.
Yeah.
The Model Fs, the high aces, the light
Mhm.
ace, the Land Cruisers.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
dope. Do you want to plug anything in upcoming? I don't know if you're,
So check this out. I can only release more information, but at the same time, I want to start spreading the word. It's gonna be amazing. They're speaking about high aces and Japanese cars, JDMs. So there's gonna be a show. You're gonna assist to the Toyota Classic. That's next to the Queen Mary, right in Long Beach. So the next show in October is gonna be the Japanese Classic show. So all Japanese cars, JDMs, and there's gonna be a scale model show too. So we need to go through the whole polish the dynamics and all the details in order to really come up with the information. But get ready. That's all I can say.
Nice.
Pre-1995 JDMs. I'm actually, I don't want to give this away, but speaking about, getting out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's dope. I like
My
it.
initial D,
Yeah,
Hachiroku.
yeah. I'm definitely gonna crack open a new kit for that
Oh,
show.
definitely,
I
brother.
want to participate in it
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh,
Like
you have to
any kind of
definitely.
support, just to like have a model, like for people to see, and the same with like everyone watching, or listening, like mark the calendar or stay tuned for more info that will develop as the weeks go by, and it'd be
Thank you.
dope. It'd be dope to participate if you're gonna be out here in Southern California and in Long Beach.
100%. All I can say is anything JDM pre-1995.
There you
There's
go.
a lot of kids out there, beautiful kids.
Yeah,
So we have to go through the details, and that way I can release, more information. But
yeah. Yeah, I
that's
mean, I know for sure we'll do a like a follow-up episode dedicated even to that, like going through all the details, for that. I think that'd be awesome.
thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Because yeah, I mean, time flies by, and that's one thing that we always battle is the time. So
You know,
we need time, to build and
running
create
out of time.
and have this. So nah,
Yeah.
it's dope. Any shout outs before we wrap up this episode, Daniel?
Uh, to everyone who is watching this, thank you guys. Thank you for continuing with the model, with the whole plastic addiction, whether you build anime, insects, whatever the hell you build, boats. Thank you for all these, support from my friends, from my close friends, Chris and Willie. With this this show was about kind of like the what I accomplished at GSL, and it's kind of like a group thing. I always learn from a lot of people. From my Patreons, I have a Patreon channel, and I have a lot of support from my patrons, and it's cool because when you're building, you're not doing other things, and for people to support that, it's super cool. So shout out to you, brother, for so speaking about discipline, you are so disciplined on continuing with your work, and it's growing. You can definitely see everybody knows you. Scale Riders is being known. So thank you, brother, for continuing this as well.
Thank you, man, and congratulations too on your awards. Making history, putting in that work right there. Just keep inspiring us, man. Keep up the good work.
It's a both way thing, dude. I get inspired from all of you guys too.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward, to what's coming. The
Definitely.
ADM show that you guys are going to be doing. So
Let's stay in touch, and I want to see that series, dude.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. All right. Well, you have a good
you.
night, and shout outs to everybody too
You
for
too.
tuning in. All
Take
right.
care, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Cool. All right. Peace out. Later.